Hey everyone, it's David Sirota. So some big and disturbing news out of Houston, Texas today. State records reviewed by International Business Times show that Exxon, Chevron, Shell, and Valero, those refineries down there that are owned by those companies, have leaked benzene into the atmosphere there in the aftermath of Hurricane Harvey. Benzene is a highly toxic carcinogen. Even in low exposures, it's been linked to higher rates of cancer. So that is big news. And some context for that is important. Two of those companies, Exxon and Valero, have recently directly lobbied the EPA to try to weaken a benzene emissions rule at the EPA. The EPA in 2014 proposed a rule to crack down on benzene emissions at oil refineries. The oil industry, the oil and gas industry, tried to back those regulations off. And Exxon and Valero directly pressed the EPA to back off those regulations. Also, the American Petroleum Institute, which counts Exxon, Shell, and Chevron as members, that group also lobbied against the rules. And it's important to hear what they said in lobbying against those rules. This is from Valero. Valero's letter to the EPA in 2014 said this: the proposed rules should be revised to more explicitly provide that 1. Short-term high benzene readings are not actionable and do not require investigation or response. That's from Valero's letter in 2014, lobbying against stricter benzene emissions limits. You've got ExxonMobil. Here's what they said in their letter: the proposed rules will impose significant new burdens on our operations, many of which are justified solely on the basis of improving compliance assurance for hypothetical situations. Now, it's not a hypothetical situation now, as those state records show that there have been benzene emissions, and those, again, are extremely, potentially very, very dangerous. So these companies were lobbying against that rule. Now, here's what happened. The rule, the Obama administration ultimately passed a benzene rule, ultimately trying to limit the emissions of benzene. But after the lobbying effort by those oil and gas companies, the rule ended up being weaker. The Obama administration's EPA rejected environmental groups' push for stricter limits on how much benzene was acceptable to be emitted at all. The Obama EPA also, and this is a really key point, also inserted new provisions that environmental groups say create exemptions from the benzene rule for companies during natural disasters like Hurricane Harvey, these so-called force majeure events. That's the legal term for it. The EPA then faced a lawsuit from environmental groups that basically criticized those loopholes. And I want to read you a press release from one of those groups. This is from Earth Justice, one of the groups that filed suit against the final rule. Specifically, Earth Justice was saying that it was good that there was a rule that to better limit benzene emissions overall, but they filed a lawsuit asking for reconsideration of these new loopholes. And they said, quote, "In finalizing new national standards, EPA created hazardous malfunction exemptions that give oil companies 1 or 2 free passes to pollute uncontrollably every 3 years, and a complete pass to pollute whenever they lose power or have some other force majeure event." Now, in our story at International Business Times, we talked to experts who said that it's very likely that these oil companies that have admitted emitting benzene into the air, that they will potentially invoke these new loopholes and exemptions in the EPA's benzene rule to say it was okay for them to emit this carcinogenic toxin into the air. So we really see here, this context is really important. The lobbying on public policy and how it affects the environment moving forward after a natural disaster like Hurricane Harvey is absolutely critical. Here you have companies acknowledging that they are emitting a highly toxic carcinogen into the air, and some of the same companies were directly lobbying for exemptions from an EPA rule that was designed to crack down on those kinds of emissions.